Hello receiving students, ATs and teachers. Thank you, take your seat. Receiving students and ATs, before we go on to our today's lesson, we will do correction on one of the activities which we did not correct in our previous lesson. So we will have to correct that activity before we go on to our today's lesson. Activity number 2, learning activity number 2. I hope you have answered the question. So I'd like the answer to this question. Okay, the Earth travels around the Sun at 29.6 kilometers per second. Mars moves at 0.81 times the Earth's speed. How far is Mars? So the question is there on the board. Who's got the answer to this question? Can someone come up to the board and write the answer to the question? Receiving students and ATs, you should have the answer to the question. Anyone got the answer to the question? Who's got the answer? Okay, receiving students and ATs, we have one of our friends here who's going to write the answer to the learning activity which we did not answer in our previous lesson. Thank you, Diana. Receiving students and ATs, let's look at the answer. Who's got the same answer as Diana? Good. Okay, many of you got the same answer as Diana. Now, Diana's answer is correct. But one thing that I want to remind you, receiving students and ATs, is the working out. Okay? Now, and how she has worked out her answer. The working out is correct. Now, one thing which is wrong here is this equal sign here. Receiving students and ATs, when you are doing your working out, this equal signs means that this is equal to this, which is not correct. Okay? In maths, this is not correct by showing this. So, what you can do is, when you're working out, do your working out separately. Okay? Do your working out separately, and then, as usual, you can place your answer here. What is the answer here? 23 point. This answer here. 7, 6. Don't forget your multiplication method. How to multiply when you are dividing by decimals. The last thing is you have to place your decimal point. So what is the decimal point? How many decimal places? 3. Because we have the factors which have one decimal place up here. This factor has 1 decimal place and this factor has 2 decimal place. So total of 3 decimal place. So 1, 2, 3. The important thing here is you're working out. Working out must be done separate. And then you put it with your final answer. Receiving students and 80s, I hope you got this clear. Okay? Now, in our previous lesson, we looked at multiplying decimals. I will just quickly go through the key steps of multiplying decimal numbers. The first key step is multiply as a whole number first. As you all know, when you're multiplying, you ignore the decimal numbers and multiply as a whole number. Key step number 2, after multiplying, you count the total places of decimal in the factors. Okay? And then you insert the decimal point in the product accordingly. So these are the main 3 steps that you must follow or you must carry out when you are multiplying decimal numbers. Now, receiving students and 80s, we will go to our main lesson. Now, before we go to our main lesson, I would like to ask you a question. The question is, what is the opposite of multiplying decimals? Who can give me the answer? Receiving students? What is the opposite of multiplying decimals? Yes? It's a very simple question. Receiving students, you should give the answer.
Dividing.
Dividing what?
Decimals.
Okay. Dividing decimals. Receiving students and 80s, our lesson for today is on dividing decimals. Okay? Dividing decimals. I have an example to give here on the screen. Before I show you the example, I would like to highlight some of the achievements that you are expected to achieve in this lesson. One is to know the method on how to divide by decimal. That is what I expect you to achieve in this lesson. And 2, apply the method of dividing by decimals in this lesson. So these are the 2 main key points that I expect you to achieve. Now I would like to show you an example. The example is 0.3 divided by 6. Now before you solve the division, can you quickly identify which of these 2 factors is a dividend and a divisor? Looking at that example, we will come across to the answer, receiving students, but I'd like you to identify which of these 2 factors is a dividend and a divisor. It shouldn't take you that long. It's a revision. I know in your previous lesson you have looked at these terms here, dividend and a divisor. Yes, receiving students and 80s, we have one of our friends to give us the answer.
6 is the dividend and the 3 is the divisor.
Receiving students and 80s, you had one of your friends said, she said that 6 is the dividend and 0.3 is the divisor. Any other different answers? Okay, let's check what answer I have for you on the screen. Your friend said 6 is the dividend and 0.3 is the divisor. Okay? 0.3 is the dividend and 6 is the divisor. You divide 6 into the, you divide divisor into the dividend. Okay? So, these 2 terms will be used in this lesson oftenly. Okay? Very often. Many a times we are going to use these terms in this lesson for today. So, that's why we have to know which factor is a divisor and which factor is a dividend in division problem. Okay? Now, I'd like you to solve the expression there. What is the answer to that expression or division problem there? Quickly in your groups, I'd like you to discuss that answer, or you can come up with the answer. receiving students and 80s, shouldn't take you that long. It's a very simple division problem. Let's go the answer. Receiving students and 80s, I hope you have got the answer. Yes, let's have Rachel. Rachel, can you give us the answer to that simple division problem?
0.2.
0 point. Any more different answers? Any more different answers? Yes? Who's that? Christy?
0.5.
0.5. Any more answers? Yes. Oh, let's have this our friend here.
5.
Alan.
5.
Alan got 5. Okay, let's check the answer. We are dividing 0.3 by 6. So which is the divisor is outside and the dividend is 0.3. 6 into 0? Cannot, so we put down 0. And then place the decimal point. 6 into 3? Cannot. So what do we do? Put 0 and then add 0 to 3. Six into 30? 5. Can we check? 6 to prove that our answer is correct. 6 fives are 30. Put on 0, carry 3. 6 zeros are 0. Plus 3, 3. And 6 zeros are 0. How many decimal places? 1, 2. So our answer is 0.3. Do we have the same answer here? Yes. Okay. 0.3 is the dividend. So is this answer correct, class? Yes. 0.05 is the answer to that division problem. Okay. Now, in the first example, we have deal with one decimal place, one decimal point only. An example. Now I will show you another example. You can see the difference between the first example and the second example. Now, this activity, I would like you to discuss in your groups and try to come up with the solution to this division problem, which is shown on the screen. So please, in your groups, discuss how you can solve that problem. You need to talk, receiving students and ITs. In your groups, try to come up with solutions to that problem. receiving students and 80s, you have 3 minutes to complete this short activity here. Receiving students and 80s, I think 3 minutes is up, so I'd like groups to come up and present. I will select that group there. Can I have one of you to come up and present your answer while receiving students? You can also present your answer on the board. For this class, I will have the group which I have selected to come up and present the answer. Receiving students and 80s, let's see what this group have come up with the answer. Explain answer.
This is how I got my answer. First, I divide 0.4 by 0.36, and 0.4 into 0 goes, it's nothing, and 0.4 into 36 goes 9 times. 9 times 4 is 36. 36 take away 36 is 0, so my answer is 0. So my answer is 0.09.
Thank you. Class, give them 2 big claps. Now, class, when we are dividing by decimal, we have to be very careful. There is steps to divide by decimals, okay? I will explain, go through the steps, basic steps, and then we will come back and see this. Try to correct this, where this group has went wrong, okay? Remember, the answer is not important. It's the working out to get to the answer is important. So, the key point. What is the key point when you are dividing decimal, receiving students and 80s? The key point is, can you all read? That is the key point. To divide by a decimal, you must change the divisor to a whole number. So our problem is that our problem? Okay. You have to change the divisor to a whole number. How can we change the divisor to a whole number, receiving students and 80s? Any idea? Yes.
By ignoring the 0 and the decimal point.
By ignoring the 0 and the decimal point. By ignoring the 0 and the decimal point. What do you others think? Let's listen from Lini.
Times 10. Divisor and a dividend.
By
10.
10. Very good. Now, to change the divisor to a whole number, you have to multiply by 10, which is multiply by 10 both the divisor and the dividend. Now, when you are dividing, that's what Lini said. Multiply the divisor by 10. Also, not forget, when you multiply the divisor by 10, you have to multiply the dividend by 10. When you multiply the divisor by 10, what do you get? Eddie?
Or multiply by 10 equals 40. Or you can change it to 4 as a whole number.
When you multiply 0.4 by 10, what do you get?
Move the decimal place to right by 10. Means you get a 4.
4.
Yes.
Okay, good. So if you move the decimal place one place to the left, you get 4. In other words, if you multiply 0.4 times 10, you still get 4. Now, what do you get when you multiply 0.36 by 10? When you multiply 0.36 by 10, what do you get? Yes?
36.
36. He says 36. Any other different answers? Let's have, okay, pass the mic, please.
3.6.
3.6. Yes, very good. When you multiply 0.36 times 10, you get 3.6. Now, back to our key step. Have we changed the divisor into a whole number? Yes. 0.4 has been changed to a whole number by multiplying 10. The divisor by 10 and the dividend by 10. Okay? So, now is it easy for us to divide? Okay, divide. What is the answer? What is the answer? 4 divided by 4 into 3? Cannot. We add 0 and then place decimal point. 4 into 36? 9. So our answer is 0.9. Is this answer correct? Yes. The previous group, the group who came and presented the answer? No. Okay. Now, receiving students and 80s, I have just shown you a simple method of how you can solve a division problem, how you can divide by a decimal. In here, sorry, one thing that I forgot to emphasize here, here we are multiplying by 10 because the divisor is to one decimal place. When the divisor is to two decimal place like 0.9, what will you multiply the divisor and the dividend with? 100. If it is three decimal place, 1000. The important thing is you must make the divisor a whole number. Now, in your groups, I'd like you to do this activity, receiving students and 8Es. Your first learning activity. The first learning activity is on the screen there. A digital watch weighs 0.098 kg. A package of them weighs 1.96 kg. How many watches in the package? Okay, receiving students and ATs, you got 3 minutes to solve this practical learning activity. So please, I'd like you to discuss in your group. Quickly solve the problem. When you discuss in your group, discuss the problem, you solve the answer. There will be contributions from your friends which will try to speed up to solve the problem. So one person do the activity might take a lot of time. When you talk together, you solve the problem within less time. Receiving students and ATs, identifying the dividend and the divisor is very important. And placing the dividend and the divisor in the right place is also very important because that will determine you to get to the correct answer. One minute up, you got 2 minutes remaining. Receiving students and ATs, I hope you are discussing your answers. You are well advanced. Last 1 minute. Receiving students and ATs, we got last 1 minute. Okay, let's look at the answers to the question. Who's got the answer to the question? Receiving students and ATs. Now we will check the answer to that learning activity there. What is the answer to the question? Can I have a group to come and present their good work? Okay, let's have that group. Finish. Let me explain the answer. Receiving students and 80s, our friend is going to explain how she got that answer. Let's listen.
The question said a digital watch weighs 0.098 kg. A package of them weighs 1.9 cm. The question said, how many watches in the package? So we all know that 0.098 is the dividend because it's the first number given, and 1.96 is the divisor. So the formula and the method you have to use is, you have to see the numbers after the decimal point for divisor. So there's two numbers after the decimal point, so you have to multiply the dividend and divisor by 100. 0.098 multiplied by 100 and 1.96 multiplied by 100. So the answer is 9.8 over 196. So we have already got the whole number for the divisor, so we can divide it straight. So 196 multiplied by 9 can also put 0 and then bring up the decimal place and make the decimal point 98. And 196 cannot go into 98, so you have to put a 0 and bring 1 0 down. So 196 into 980 is 5. So the answer for the question is 0.05.
Thank you. Class, do we have 0.05 watches in a packet? In reality? Yes or no? No. 0.05 watches in a packet. We don't have such in reality. Is that correct? So, let us look at the answer. Is the answer correct? The answer is not correct. Now, let us identify which is the dividend and the divisor. Yes, Eddie?
1.96 is a dividend and 0.098 is a divisor.
Very good. $1.96 is the dividend and the divisor is 0.098 is the divisor. Now, what do we do? We follow the steps. To make this divisor a whole number, what do? We multiply by 100 or 1000? We multiply by 1000 because the divisor has 3 decimal places. So 1.96 multiply by 1000, 1960. 0.098 multiplied by 1000, it is 98. Divide that quickly and what is the answer? Can you divide that quickly? Yes, Lini, what is the answer? 20. Now, how many watches can we have in a packet? 20 watches. Is that reality? Yes. Now, receiving students and 80s, we have come to the end of our lesson. Before I summarize the lesson, I would like you to copy this additional activity. Quickly, I'm giving you 1 minute only, receiving students and 80s. Receiving students, our summary points for today's lesson: to divide by a decimal, the divisor must be changed to a whole number first. And then you can multiply by 10, 100, 1000 according to the number of decimal places the divisor has. And then after you get the answer, it is important to check the answer by multiplying the answer by the divisor. Receiving students and ITs, our key phrase for today is dividing by decimals. With that, we have come to the end of our lesson for today. And thank you very much for your participation.